Guys, Juan here. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Are you smiling? Earlier today, I had this really beautiful session and we got into the topic of a thinking error. The thinking error, focusing on the good versus the bad, or it should be the opposite around, sorry. So focusing on the bad versus the good. So if you're somewhere out there, I want you to raise your hand and say, I do that sometimes. I focus on the bad and not the good. And I don't want you to kick yourself in the butt. I don't want you to hurt yourself. I don't want you to attack yourself. Sometimes we just get to a point in life where we accept and we go, you know what? I got really big eyebrows. I accept that. But then comes the number two question. Where did these giant eyebrows come from? Mom and dad, right? So they're the one to blame. No, I'm just kidding. They're not the one to blame. But it's good for us to know the history of our underlying issues. So a thinking error, such as focusing on the bad and not the good, yes, it's got a lot of negative notions to it, a lot of negative effects to it. But we want to look at where did it come from? So if this relates to you, I want you to keep watching this video as far as a thinking error where you focus more on the bad than the good. I want you to be able to get a sheet of paper and then write down my thinking error is I focus on the bad and not the good. And then I want you to make bullet points. And on those bullet points, be able to list out what influenced you to think more on the bad. Did you grow up in a household where, you would come home and you would show your report card and you've got all A's, but you got a C. And the first thing out of your parents' mouth is, what about that C, right? Now that could be an influence because in your mind, you could start doing the same thing. You could start getting older and older and always focusing on the bad. And next thing you know, you're X years old, right? You're 30, 40 years old. And you're like, damn it, why do I focus on the bad? I got all these A's, but I focus on the C. Why? So that's the why. Dig into it. There may be more items in the bullets that you list down, but let's just say that that's it, right? It's that you grew up in a household in a structure where everyone around you really honed in, right? They got that sharp eye that went in there and focused on the bad and not the good. And so as you get older, you do the same thing. You do it at work, you do it in your relationships, you do it with yourself, right? Maybe you look in the mirror and you got a lot of great attributes. You look good, you're handsome, or you're beautiful, but then you see that one thing you don't like, and then you really focus on it. Or in your relationship, things are going well, but then there's that one issue and it just hovers over everything. So then we look at, okay, I kind of get the point. I get that it came from this place, right? My upbringing. And this is how it's played out. I focus on the bad and not the good. So then what do I do next? So what we do next really has to do with choices and decisions that we make. There's 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. I don't know why I blanked out. I was like, man, I should know the answer to that. For some reason, I blanked out. That's one of my funny moments, if you will. So with that being said, right, you got all these days and you've got all these hours. How much time do you want to spend focused on problems? Probably not too much. So instead what we do is we push ourselves, with a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of motivation and confidence and grit, aka Angela Duckworth. Check her out on YouTube. Really awesome stuff. But we push ourselves to create some kind of structure where we are forced to focus on the good. And I don't know about you, but I like going old school, paper and pen. So have a journal that you keep with you. And in the journal, you go to it every single day. And every single day, you go to it 3 times a day, morning, during the day, evening, before you go to bed. And when you go to it, you have a question that's asked. What are the good things that happened today? Right? You put today so far. So now your brain is forced to really go into that good concept. Well, I got up, I ate my breakfast, I made an awesome breakfast. I kissed my partner, I danced, whatever it may be. And what you're doing is you're rewiring the brain. And if you keep doing this practice, what's going to happen is that you're going to age. In 5 years, 10 years down the line, you're going to look back and you're going to be able to say, why do I have a healthy thinking concept? Why is it that I focus on the good? And you're going to look back and you're going to say, oh, it's because I had a lot of practice focusing on the good. So I want you to try that out. I want you to play with it. And, before I jump off, I know COVID is taking place. A lot of us are being impacted. I hope that you're doing okay. I hope that, you're finding time to engage in self-care, time to journal, time to be with your friends and loved ones, time to focus on you. Have an amazing day. Thank you for sharing space with me.